He never noticed her until that day. Among the garden flowers, a simple gardener held a secret that could change everything. The pendant around her neck carried memories of a past no one dared to mention. Now he must uncover the truth before it's too late. Before we begin, like and subscribe so we can continue creating stories like this one. The morning was exceptionally clear at Sunfield Manor, the imposing estate of the Montgomery family, one of the most traditional in the Berkshire region. Travis Montgomery, sole heir to the family fortune and manager of the extensive lands that produced coffee for export, was taking his morning stroll through the mansion's well-kept gardens, as he had religiously done for years. The mountain air carried a pleasant freshness on that April morning. Travis enjoyed this moment of solitude before the day's commitments consumed him. Among the meticulously arranged roses, orchids, and other exotic plants, he found a piece that he couldn't find anywhere else on the property. "Good morning, Mr. Travis," greeted Mrs. Martha, the housekeeper who had known him since childhood while supervising the work in the garden. "Good morning, Martha. The gardens look particularly beautiful today." "It's Rachel's work, sir. The girl has a good hand with plants. It seems they grow just from hearing her sing." Travis hadn't noticed the young woman working among the rose bushes. With her back to him, she was softly humming while pruning the bushes with impressive precision. There was something in the melody that made him stop, an old song that his grandmother used to sing when he was a boy. While observing the gardener, something gleamed on her neck, catching a ray of sunlight through the foliage. It was a brief moment, but enough to catch his attention. Travis approached, feigning interest in the roses, and when the young woman turned to greet him, he saw it clearly. Hanging on a simple silver chain was an emerald pendant in the shape of a teardrop, surrounded by small diamonds arranged in a spiral pattern. The impact of the sight left him momentarily speechless. It couldn't be coincidence. That pendant with that specific design was his grandmother's necklace, which had disappeared 15 years ago in never clarified circumstances, on the same night that his uncle, Victor, his father's advisor, had suffered a mysterious accident that left him in a vegetative state until today. "Is something wrong, sir?" asked the girl, noticing his fixed gaze. Travis quickly regained his composure. He couldn't show the shock he felt. No, I was just admiring your work with the roses. They're my mother's favorites." "Thank you. I strive to keep them healthy." "Mrs. Caroline deserves the most beautiful garden in the region. Your name is Rachel, right?" "That's right, sir, Rachel Morgan. I've been working here for 6 months. Travis noticed that she instinctively brought her hand to the pendant as if wanting to hide it. There was something in her gaze, a mixture of pride and apprehension, that further increased his curiosity. "That necklace is very beautiful. It looks antique." Rachel's face stiffened for a second, but she smiled immediately afterward. "It was my mother's. The only memento I have of her." "Your mother is no longer with us?" "No, sir. She disappeared when I was 8 years old. She worked in a big house like this one. One day she left for work and never came back. I was raised by my grandmother in Virginia." Travis felt a pang in his chest. The young woman's story coincided with the period of the necklace's disappearance. But how would such a valuable Montgomery family heirloom have ended up in the hands of a simple gardener's mother? "I'm sorry for your loss. And how did you come to Sunfield Manor?" "My grandmother passed away last year. I came to Massachusetts looking for work, and the agency sent me here. Mrs. Martha was very kind to give me a chance, even without references. On his way back to the main house, Travis could barely organize his thoughts. His grandmother's necklace, which had disappeared on the night of the tragedy that forever changed the family dynamic, was now on the neck of a recently hired gardener. That couldn't be coincidence. Upon entering the office, he found his mother, Caroline Montgomery, reviewing the farm's accounts. "Talking with the gardeners again, Travis?" she asked without raising her eyes from the books. "You know your father didn't approve of this closeness with the staff." "I'm just supervising, Mother. It's our responsibility to ensure everything runs perfectly." Caroline finally looked at him with those penetrating green eyes that resembled emeralds, the same eyes that he possessed. "You seem troubled. Did something happen?" Travis hesitated. He knew his mother well, always controlling and extremely protective since the tragedy that marked the family. He decided he needed to investigate more before sharing his discovery. "Nothing important. I was just thinking about the annual report for the shareholders." "Make sure you review everything with Augustus. He's concerned about the exports to Europe." Augustus Mills, the family's lawyer and his father's right-hand man, had assumed an even more prominent position since Travis began managing the farm. Something in his gaze always made Travis uncomfortable, as if the man knew secrets that he didn't. That afternoon, while reviewing old documents in the family archive, Travis found the folder about the necklace's disappearance. The investigations at the time pointed to a common theft, although nothing else had been taken from the house. The police report mentioned that on the same night, Victor Montgomery had suffered an accident in his car while returning home after a heated discussion with the family patriarch. In a handwritten note by his father, Travis read something that intrigued him. The necklace must never be found. V knew too much. Carefully storing the folder, Travis walked to the mansion's annex where his uncle Victor remained under medical care. The man, once vibrant and full of life, was now just a shadow, confined to a bed and fed through tubes. The nurses said that sometimes his eyes seemed to follow people around the room as if he were conscious, but the doctors dismissed this possibility. "Uncle Victor, what happened that night?" whispered Travis, knowing he wouldn't get an answer. "What did you know about the necklace, and how did it end up on the neck of an employee's daughter?" As he left the room, Travis almost collided with Augustus Mills, who seemed to emerge from the shadows of the corridor. "Visiting your uncle again, Travis? Your family dedication is admirable, but I doubt he can hear anything." There was something in Augustus's tone that put Travis on alert. "You never know, Augustus. They say people in his condition can hear more than we imagine." The lawyer smiled, a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Be careful with your investigations, Travis. Some truths from the past are better left where they are, for the family's sake." As he watched Augustus walk away down the corridor, Travis was certain he wasn't alone in his search. Someone else in the house knew about the necklace and about Rachel Morgan's true identity, and that someone was willing to keep this secret buried at any cost. In the days that followed, Travis discreetly observed Rachel's routine. The young gardener always arrived at dawn, worked with exemplary dedication until dusk, and then headed to a small house at the back of the property, where some of the staff resided. She rarely conversed with the other workers, except with Mrs. Martha, with whom she seemed to have developed an almost maternal relationship. On a particularly hot afternoon, Travis met Sebastian, the head gardener who had served the family for over 40 years. If anyone knew the secrets of Sunfield Manor, it was him. "Sebastian, what do you know about the new gardener, Rachel?" The old man adjusted the straw hat he always wore and studied Travis for a few moments before answering. "Hard-working. Girl, sir, has a talent with plants. Why do you ask?" "Curiosity, she reminds me of someone." Sebastian returned to his gardening tools, but his aged face showed uneasiness. "You were very young at the time, perhaps you don't remember, but she has Teresa's way about her." "Teresa? Teresa Morgan. Worked here for years, was your grandmother's chambermaid. Your father sent her away suddenly, nobody ever knew why." Travis felt his heart speed up. A new piece of the puzzle fit into place. "When did this happen, Sebastian?" It's been a while. It was after that trouble with your Uncle Victor, around the same time your grandmother fell ill. The old gardener lowered his voice as if afraid of being heard. They say Teresa and your Uncle Victor were close, very close, if you know what I mean. But those are old gossips, sir. You shouldn't listen to them. Travis thanked him and continued on his way, his mind buzzing. If Teresa was Rachel's mother, and if she had an affair with his Uncle Victor, could it be possible that Rachel was, in fact, his cousin? And what did this have to do with the necklace's disappearance? In the mansion's library, Travis searched for old photo albums. He found one dated 15 years ago, with records of a spring ball at the estate. In one of the photos, in the background, a young dark-haired woman was serving champagne glasses. Even in the yellowed photo, he could see the striking resemblance to Rachel. Turning a few pages, he found another photograph that left him breathless, his grandmother in an elegant dress, wearing the emerald necklace. Beside her, smiling, was his Uncle Victor. And behind them, partially visible, was the same chambermaid, looking at Victor with an expression that left no doubt about the nature of their relationship. Investigating family history, son. His mother's voice startled him. Caroline was at the door of the library, observing him with an unreadable expression. Just remembering Grandma, it's been so long. Caroline approached and examined the photograph over her son's shoulder. Your grandmother loved that necklace. It was devastating when it disappeared. What happened that night, Mother? They never told me the details. Caroline's face hardened. There's not much to tell. There was a theft, the necklace disappeared. On the same night, your Uncle Victor suffered that terrible accident returning from a party. Tragic coincidences. And the chambermaid in this photo, Teresa, isn't it? For an instant, Travis saw something in his mother's eyes. Fear, anger, but soon her expression was controlled again. She was dismissed. Your father discovered she was stealing small objects. Nothing worth prosecuting, so we simply let her go. Do you think she stole the necklace? Caroline closed the album forcefully. These old stories don't matter now, Travis. We have an empire to manage. Augustus told me you've been distracted, visiting your uncle frequently. What are you looking for? Just trying to understand our history, Mother. The empire we manage was built upon it, after all. Caroline studied her son for long moments. Some parts of history are better forgotten, son, for everyone's good. When she left, Travis remained thoughtful. His mother was clearly hiding something, as was Augustus. He needed more information, and there was only one living person who might have it, Mrs. Martha. He found the housekeeper in the kitchen, supervising dinner preparations. Martha, can I speak with you privately? The woman followed him to the back porch, away from curious ears. I need you to tell me about Teresa Morgan. The housekeeper paled. That's not a subject we should discuss, Mr. Travis. Your mother wouldn't like it. It's important, Martha. I saw my grandmother's necklace on the gardener's neck, on Rachel's. The necklace that disappeared 15 years ago. Mrs. Martha let out a heavy sigh. I knew this would happen someday. When I first saw the girl, I recognized the eyes, the same green eyes as your Uncle Victor. So it's true. Rachel is his daughter. I believe so, though no one ever confirmed it. Teresa and your uncle fell in love. It was a hushed scandal. Your father was furious when he found out. And the necklace? Martha looked around, making sure they were alone. Your grandmother gave the necklace to Victor that night. He was planning to run away with Teresa, start a new life far from here. The necklace would be their financial security. Your grandmother always had a soft spot for Victor, her youngest son. She wanted him to be happy, even against your father's wishes. So it wasn't a theft? No, sir. But after Victor's accident, when Teresa was expelled from the estate, everyone assumed she had stolen the necklace and fled. And my uncle's accident, was it really an accident? The housekeeper's eyes filled with tears. Don't ask me that. Question, young man. There are things better left unknown. That night, Travis could barely sleep. The revelations accumulated, forming a disturbing picture. If what Martha said was true, Rachel wasn't just a gardener, but a legitimate Montgomery, daughter of his Uncle Victor, and potentially heir to part of the family fortune. The next day, he decided to visit the small house where Rachel lived. He needed to see for himself how she lived, perhaps find some additional clue about her mother. He took advantage of a moment when he saw her leave for lunch and discreetly entered the staff quarters. Rachel's room was simple but organized. On a small table next to the bed, there was a photo frame with a picture of a woman, undoubtedly Teresa, embracing a small girl. And behind the photograph, carefully folded, he found a piece of paper yellowed by time. It was a letter written in elegant handwriting. "My dear Teresa, when you read this letter, we will already be far away from here. My mother's necklace will secure our future and that of our daughter. No one can separate us now. Meet me at the arranged place at midnight. A new life awaits us. Forever yours, Victor." The letter had never been delivered. Victor never made it to the meeting place, and Teresa, expelled and possibly threatened, disappeared, taking with her the necklace and the secret of her daughter. As he left the room, Travis almost collided with Rachel, who was returning earlier than expected. "Mr. Travis, what are you doing here?" He noticed the fear in her eyes, the same shade of green as his own eyes, the eyes of his uncle Victor. "We need to talk, Rachel, about your mother, about my uncle, and about the necklace you wear." Rachel instinctively backed away, her hand immediately seeking the necklace as if to protect it. "I don't know what you're talking about." "I think you do." Travis showed the letter he had found. "Your father was my uncle Victor Montgomery, and that necklace you wear belonged to my grandmother." The young woman's face paled. For a moment, Travis thought she might faint, but Rachel quickly composed herself, showing an inner strength that impressed him. "I always knew there was a secret about my father. My mother never told me who he was, only that he worked for powerful people and that they had to separate." She touched the necklace delicately. "She gave me this shortly before she disappeared, said it was my inheritance that one day I would understand." "When was the last time you saw your mother?" Rachel invited him into her small room, closing the door to ensure privacy. "I was 8 years old. We lived in Charlottesville. She worked as a maid in different houses. One day a man appeared at our home. They argued, and the next day, Mom left me with my grandmother saying she needed to resolve an important matter. She never came back." "Can you describe this man?" Rachel closed her eyes, searching her memory. Tall, graying hair, a well-trimmed beard, and very elegant. He seemed important. The description perfectly matched his father, Richard Montgomery, who had passed away 5 years ago. "Rachel, do you know what this means? You're a Montgomery, part of this family, part of the legacy." "No, Mr. Travis." Her tone was firm. "I'm Rachel Morgan, Teresa's daughter. I have nothing to do with your family." "But the necklace, you must know. It's valuable." "Yes, but I never sold it, even in the hardest times. It's all I have of my mother." Travis admired the dignity with which she faced the situation. It was clear that Rachel hadn't come to Sunfield Manor seeking recognition or wealth. "Why did you come to work here? It's quite a coincidence." Rachel's green eyes, so similar to his own, fixed on him. "It wasn't a coincidence. Before my grandmother passed away, she told me that my mother had worked at a large estate in the Berkshires. She said that perhaps there I could find answers about my father, about her disappearance." Rachel paused. "But I never imagined I would find all this." At that moment, they heard footsteps approaching. Travis quickly tucked the letter into his pocket. "Don't mention our conversation to anyone. It could be dangerous," he whispered. The door opened and Augustus Mills appeared, his shrewd gaze analyzing the scene. "Travis, your mother is looking for you. And I didn't know you made a habit of visiting the staff quarters. Just checking on some garden matters. Rachel has been doing exceptional work." Augustus looked at the young woman with calculated interest. "No doubt. Mrs. Caroline commented just yesterday about the roses." He turned to Travis. "Your mother awaits you in the office. It seems important." Travis left reluctantly, not wanting to leave Rachel alone with Augustus, but the lawyer followed him closely, leaving no alternative. On the way to the main house, Augustus walked beside him, maintaining an uncomfortable silence until they were far enough from the quarters. Fascinating how certain stories tend to repeat themselves, don't you think, Travis? His tone was casual but loaded with insinuations. You secretly visiting an employee's room reminds me of a certain relative of yours. I don't know what you're talking about. Of course you do, Augustus smiled. The resemblance is striking, isn't it? The same green eyes, the same profile. Even the way she tilts her head when concentrating, not just like your Uncle Victor. Travis stopped walking. What do you know about this, Augustus? The lawyer shrugged. I only know what I observe, and that certain stories from the past should remain buried for the sake of family stability. Your father understood this perfectly. Are you threatening me? Warning you, my dear boy, just warning you. Some truths bring no good when revealed. In the office, Caroline was waiting with visible irritation. Where have you been? Augustus looked for you everywhere. Resolving some personal matters, mother. Well, I have important news. The European investors have confirmed interest in business expansion. We need to prepare all the documentation. Caroline handed him a folder with contracts and began detailing the business plans, but Travis could barely concentrate. His thoughts were divided between the revelation about Rachel and Augustus's veiled threat. Travis, are you listening to me? Caroline banged on the desk, bringing him back to reality. I'm sorry, Mother, I'm a bit distracted. We don't have time for distractions. The family's future depends on these contracts. The family's future, Travis repeated thoughtfully. Or just the part of the family that you recognize. Caroline paled. What are you talking about? The truth about Uncle Victor, about Teresa Morgan, and about Grandma's necklace. The matriarch rose slowly, her face a mask of control, but her eyes revealed panic. Don't mention that name in this house. Her voice trembled slightly. Some stories belong to the past. Like the story of a young woman who grew up without a father, whose mother mysteriously disappeared. A young woman who by chance is the legitimate daughter of a Montgomery. You don't know what you're talking about, Caroline practically shouted, losing the composure she always maintained. Your father did what needed to be done to protect this family, to protect you. What exactly did he do, Mother? Travis approached, his voice low and intense. Did Victor really have an accident? Or was it something more convenient to prevent him from running away with? An employee taking the family necklace, and worse yet, acknowledging a daughter who would tarnish the Montgomery name. Caroline fell seated as if her legs could no longer support her. Never say that. Never. Your father adored Victor. It was a terrible accident. But her eyes told another story, and Travis realized he had touched on a painful truth. I want to see the records from that night. The medical reports, the police report, everything. They were destroyed. The voice came not from Caroline, but from Augustus, who had remained silently at the door. Your father personally took care of that. For safety. Safety for whom? The family, obviously. Augustus entered, closing the door behind him. And for Teresa herself, I should add. What do you mean? Augustus exchanged a look with Caroline, who reluctantly nodded. Your father offered Teresa a choice. Disappear with a generous sum of money, or face accusations for the theft of the necklace and for Victor's accident. You threatened her, forced her to abandon her own daughter. She chose the money, Caroline intervened. She could have taken the girl, but chose to leave alone. Perhaps it was better that way. Travis felt a wave of revulsion. And what happened to her afterward? We don't know, Augustus answered. Part of the agreement was that she would never contact us again. I imagine she's living comfortably somewhere far away. Or perhaps not. Travis stared at both of them. According to Rachel, her mother disappeared 15 years ago, shortly after receiving a visit from a man who perfectly fits the description of my father. The silence that followed was deafening. Caroline and Augustus exchanged worried looks. That's absurd, Caroline finally spoke. Your father would never… What, Mother? Never harm someone? How can you be so sure if he was capable of sabotaging his own brother's car? Enough, Caroline stood up. I will not allow you to tarnish your father's memory with these unfounded accusations. Travis headed for the door, but before leaving, he turned one last time. I'm going to discover the whole truth, and when I do, I'll take the necessary measures to correct the wrongs our family has committed. As he walked down the corridor, he heard Augustus say to his mother in a low voice, "This cannot continue, Caroline. He's getting too close." Travis quickened his pace, feeling for the first time a shiver of genuine fear. The truth was much more dangerous than he had initially imagined, and the people guarding it were much closer than he would like. Night fell over Sunfield Manor like a heavy cloak. Travis couldn't sleep, tossing in bed while fragments of his family's history fit together in his mind like pieces of a dark puzzle. Around 2 in the morning, he heard a light knock on his bedroom door. Cautious, he grabbed a silver letter opener from the desk before opening. To his surprise, he found Mrs. Martha, the housekeeper, visibly agitated. "You need to come with me now, Mr. Travis. The girl is in danger." Without questioning, Travis quickly put on a robe over his pajamas and followed the housekeeper through the dark corridors of the mansion. Martha led him through a service passage that he barely knew until they reached the back of the property. "Where are we going?" "To Irene's house, the cook. I hid the girl there after Augustus went to the quarters." Martha's voice was a tense whisper. "He searched her room, took some things. Thank God she wasn't there." In the cook's small house, they found Rachel sitting at the kitchen table, her face pale and hands trembling around a cup of tea. Seeing Travis, she jumped to her feet. "What is he doing here?" "You can trust him, girl," Martha assured. "He's on our side." Travis noticed that Rachel wasn't wearing the necklace. "Where is it?" She understood immediately. "Hidden. It's not safe to wear it now." "We have little time," Irene, a stout woman with calloused hands, interrupted. "Mr. Augustus told Mrs. Caroline he's calling the police in the morning. Something about a theft in the office. We all know it's a pretext to search everything and everyone." "He's looking for evidence," Travis realized. "Letters, photos, anything that connects you to the Montgomerys." "He already found something," Rachel revealed, her voice trembling. "The letter you showed me earlier. He came back after you left, turned my room upside down. Must have found other things too. I have my mother's diary with dates, names." Travis cursed softly. "We need to get you out of here." "I can't run away," Rachel protested. "I came looking for answers about my mother. If she really disappeared after meeting your father, I need to know what happened." "And you will." A new voice sounded from the back door of the kitchen. It was Sebastian, the old gardener. "But you won't discover anything if you end up like your mother, girl." The old man entered limping, leaning on his wooden cane. Travis had never noticed how astute and attentive his eyes were. "Sebastian, what do you know about all this?" "More than I'd like to, young master." The old man sighed heavily. "I was here 15 years ago when it all happened. I saw your father and Augustus leave late at night, then return agitated. The next morning, the news of your uncle's accident was already all over the place. And Teresa disappeared 2 days later. Your father said he had fired her for theft, but none of us believed it. Teresa was too honest." The old man looked at Rachel. "We found out she had left a daughter behind, but no one knew where the girl was. Why did you never say anything?" Travis questioned. "Because I have a family, sir, because your father made it clear that anyone who mentioned Teresa or the necklace would be immediately dismissed without references. For people like us, that meant certain misery." Travis felt the weight of guilt that wasn't his, but that he carried as inheritance. "But now you've decided to speak?" "I'm too old to be afraid," Sebastian smiled sadly. "And when I saw the girl with those green eyes identical to your uncle's, I knew it was time for the truth to come out." Rachel stood up and took from an inner pocket of her blouse a small object wrapped in velvet. She unfolded the fabric, revealing the emerald necklace. "This necklace has been both a blessing and a curse for my family." She extended it to Travis. "Perhaps it's time to return it." Travis refused with a gesture. "It was legitimately given to your father, who wanted you to have it. It's yours by right." Martha, who was observing through the window, interrupted the conversation. "There's a car entering the property." Sebastian approached to look. "It's Sheriff Johnson, personal friend of Augustus. Coming at this hour, this isn't good. Have we hide her? Asked Irene, already looking toward the basement. No. Travis's voice was firm. The more we hide, the more guilty we'll appear. We need a different strategy. He turned to Rachel. Do you trust me? She hesitated for only a second. I trust you. Then let's play their game, but with our own rules. 20 minutes later, Sheriff Johnson, Augustus, and Caroline were gathered in the mansion's main office. The sheriff's serious countenance contrasted with Augustus's triumphant smile when Travis entered, accompanied by Rachel. The young woman had changed from her simple clothes into a dress borrowed from Irene, which, although simple, gave her a more formal appearance. What is the meaning of this? Caroline stood up, indignant. Travis, explain yourself. I was just answering the sheriff's summons, Travis responded calmly. Mr. Augustus said there was an urgent matter to address related to Miss Morgan. Augustus seemed disconcerted by Travis's confident attitude. Yes, a very serious matter. The young lady is being accused of theft. Sheriff Johnson, a middle-aged man with a gray mustache, shook his head. Not exactly, Mr. Mills. You mentioned suspicions, not formal accusations. We need concrete evidence for that. And what would these suspicions be? Travis questioned. Knowing perfectly well the answer, Augustus removed an envelope from a folder. We found documents in the young lady's room that suggest she came to this estate with the specific objective of extorting the Montgomery family. Extort? Rachel seemed genuinely shocked. How could I extort anyone? Augustus smiled coldly. By claiming to be the illegitimate daughter of Victor Montgomery, of course, with the right to a part of the inheritance. The sheriff seemed interested. Is this true, miss? Before Rachel could respond, Travis intervened. It's completely true, Sheriff. Rachel is, in fact, the daughter of my Uncle Victor with Teresa Morgan, a former employee of this house. Caroline almost fainted, needing to support herself on the desk. Travis, how dare you? I'm just telling the truth, Mother. A truth that our family has tried to bury for 15 years. Travis faced Augustus. A truth for which my uncle almost lost his life and Teresa Morgan possibly lost hers. Sheriff Johnson narrowed his eyes. Those are serious accusations, Mr. Montgomery. And I have evidence to support them. Travis removed a small recording device from his pocket, including the confession of my mother and Mr. Mills about how my father took care of the situation. The color drained from Augustus's face. That's illegal. A recording without consent has no legal value. Perhaps not in court, but it will certainly have value when it reaches the newspapers. Travis smiled slightly. Imagine the headlines. Montgomery Empire built on family tragedy. The European investors would love that story, wouldn't they, Mother? Caroline, who until then had seemed about to collapse, slowly straightened herself. Her eyes, identical to Travis's and Rachel's, stared at the young woman with an expression impossible to decipher. So that's it? Blackmail? Her voice was almost a whisper. No, Mother. Justice. Travis approached. Rachel didn't come here demanding anything. She came only to discover the truth about her mother, about her father. And she has every right to know. Sheriff Johnson, clearly uncomfortable with the direction of the conversation, cleared his throat. Well, it seems this isn't a police matter after all. Family conflicts should be resolved within the family or in the appropriate forums. One moment, Sheriff, Augustus protested. We still have the matter of the stolen necklace. What necklace would that be? Travis questioned with feigned innocence. Your grandmother's emerald necklace, of course, the same one that this opportunist wears shamelessly. Rachel, with a calmness that surprised everyone, stepped forward. This necklace? She removed the jewel from her pocket and placed it on the desk. It was a gift from my grandmother to my father, who in turn left it for my mother and subsequently for me. But if the Montgomery family considers it stolen, I am more than willing to return it. I didn't come here for money or jewels. The sheriff examined the necklace, impressed. It seems quite valuable. It's a family heirloom. Caroline stretched her hand to take it, but Travis was quicker. An heirloom that legitimately belongs to Rachel, as a gift from my grandmother to her son Victor. He returned the necklace to Rachel, and that will remain with her. Augustus, seeing his plan crumble, made one last attempt. This is absurd. There's no proof that this young woman is Victor's daughter. This is a scheme orchestrated to... A DNA test will easily resolve this question, Travis interrupted. I'm sure the sheriff can arrange that, can't he? Sheriff Johnson, realizing he was in the middle of a family battle far above his capabilities, backed away. As I said, this seems to be a family matter. If there's no formal accusation of a crime, there isn't, Travis categorically affirmed. What we have is a family meeting to welcome a long-lost member of the Montgomery family. Caroline, who had remained silent, finally spoke, her voice loaded with contained emotion. Victor would have been happy to see her. Her eyes fixed on Rachel revealed a mixture of fear and regret. You have his eyes. After the tense confrontation in the office, a heavy silence settled over Sunfield Manor. Sheriff Johnson quickly departed, clearly relieved to leave behind the Montgomery family drama. Augustus, defeated but still dangerous, retreated to his office in town, promising with an icy look that this story was not yet over. Caroline, in turn, retired to her chambers, claiming a migraine. Before leaving, however, she gave Rachel a lingering look that no one could interpret. Was it recognition, regret, or just cold calculation? Travis offered Rachel one of the guest rooms in the main house. The young woman initially hesitated, but ended up accepting when he insisted it wasn't safe to remain in the staff quarters. Don't worry, he assured her while leading her down the elegant corridor of the East Wing. From now on, no one will bother you anymore. This is so surreal, Rachel commented, observing the family portraits that adorned the walls. I spent years imagining what my father would be like, trying to discover where my green eyes came from, since my mother had brown eyes. Travis stopped in front of a specific portrait. This is Victor at 25. It was painted shortly before the accident. Rachel approached, intensely observing the painting. The man in the picture had the same green eyes, the same face shape that she saw in the mirror. Every morning, the emotion made her choke up. It's like looking at a male version of myself. Silent tears ran down her face. For years, I had only a name and the stories my grandmother told. Now, I have a face. Travis felt a lump in his throat. He was everyone's favorite. Charismatic, generous, passionate about music. He played the piano impressively. I play too, Rachel revealed. My grandmother insisted on lessons, even when we barely had money to eat. She said it was important to maintain the family tradition. Travis smiled. There's a piano in the music room. It's a bit out of tune. No one has played since Victor. Well, for years. In the guest room, luxurious and cozy, Rachel seemed out of place, still wearing the borrowed dress from Irene. I'll have your things brought in the morning, Travis assured, and we can provide new clothes if you need. You don't need to trouble yourself. I didn't come here seeking luxury or privileges. I know that, Travis assured, but now that the secret is out, we need to ensure your safety. After making sure Rachel was comfortably settled, Travis headed to a place he had been avoiding for weeks, the room where his uncle Victor remained in a vegetative state. The night nurse seemed surprised to see him. Mr. Travis, it's rare to receive visitors so late. Can you leave us alone, Nancy? When the nurse left, Travis approached the bed where his uncle lay, connected to machines that monitored his vital signs. Despite his immobile state and assisted breathing, Victor didn't seem to have aged much in the last 15 years. His hair, now completely gray, was well cut, and his skin well cared for thanks to daily treatments. I brought a surprise for you, Uncle. Travis spoke softly. Your daughter is here, Rachel. She has your eyes, your talent for music, and your necklace. For a moment, Travis could have sworn he saw a tear form in the corner of Victor's immobile eye. Could it be possible that, despite the medical evaluations, his uncle was conscious, trapped in a body that wouldn't respond? If you can hear me, Uncle, I want you to know that I'm going to discover the whole truth. About the accident, about Teresa, about everything. And I'll ensure that Rachel receives what is rightfully hers. As he left the room, he found his mother in the corridor. Caroline was already in her silk robe, her face pale and haggard. "What did you tell him?" she asked in a low voice. "The truth that his daughter is here, finally." Caroline closed her eyes for a moment. "I need to speak with you in private." In the office, with the door closed, Caroline served herself a generous dose of brandy before sitting down. "I want you to understand something, Travis. Your father wasn't a monster. He sabotaged his own brother's car, Mother, and is possibly responsible for Teresa's disappearance. Things aren't that simple." Caroline took a long sip. Victor was about to throw everything away. It wasn't just a matter of the scandal of having a child with an employee. He was planning to sell his shares in the company to run away with her. So what? So at that time we were on the verge of bankruptcy. The revelation fell like a bomb. Your grandfather had made disastrous investments. The company was drowning in debt. The only thing keeping the creditors away was the appearance of stability, the image of the united and strong family. Travis frowned. Would that justify trying to kill his own brother? Your father never wanted to hurt Victor. Tears sprang to Caroline's eyes. He just wanted to scare him, make the car stop on the road so they could talk. It was a terrible accident. Richard never forgave himself. And Teresa. What happened to her? Caroline wiped away her tears. Richard offered her money to disappear. Yes, and she accepted. But then she came back, demanding more. She threatened to go to the press, tell about the accident, about Victor's daughter. And then Augustus took care of her. Caroline's voice was almost inaudible. He didn't tell me the details. He just said she wouldn't bother us anymore. I believed she had accepted a larger sum and left forever. But now you're not so sure. Now I'm not sure of anything. Caroline suddenly looked aged. Except that your cousin is here, with Victor's same accusing look, and that everything we've built over the last decades might crumble. Travis slowly processed his mother's revelations. Part of him wanted to condemn her. Another understood that she too had been a victim of circumstances and his father's decisions. What do you intend to do now? Caroline asked, fearing the answer. The right thing, something that should have been done 15 years ago. The next morning, Sunfield Manor awoke to a new reality. During breakfast, Travis formally announced to Mrs. Martha, Sebastian, and the other trusted staff that Rachel would be officially presented as a member of the Montgomery family, Victor's legitimate daughter. The DNA test will confirm what we already know, he explained. Meanwhile, Rachel will be treated with the respect due to her position. Rachel, wearing simple but well-fitted clothes that Mrs. Martha had provided, seemed uncomfortable with the situation. You don't need to do this. I didn't. Come seeking status or recognition. I know that, Travis assured, but it's the least I can do to start correcting the mistakes of the past. The morning passed in relative tranquility, with Rachel being formally introduced to the main staff of the estate. Many of the older ones looked at her with amazement and recognition, commenting in whispers on the striking resemblance to Victor. Around noon, however, the tension returned when Augustus unexpectedly appeared, accompanied by a man Travis recognized as Dr. Paul Fletcher, one of the most renowned family law attorneys in Boston. To what do we owe the visit? Travis asked coldly, receiving them on the porch. Family matters require appropriate measures, Augustus responded in a falsely cordial tone. Dr. Fletcher is a specialist in contested paternity cases. There's no contest here, Travis assured. We fully recognize Rachel as Victor's daughter. Really? Augustus smiled sarcastically. And your mother agrees with this? My mother will adapt to reality. At that moment, Caroline joined them, her face a mask of aristocratic composure. Dr. Fletcher, welcome. She greeted the lawyer, completely ignoring Augustus. I presume you've come to discuss the terms of formal recognition for my niece. Augustus couldn't hide his shock. Caroline, what are you doing? What I should have done years ago, Augustus, she responded with coldness, correcting a mistake. Dr. Fletcher, noticing the tense atmosphere, sought to maintain professional neutrality. I understand the situation is delicate. I'm here to ensure the process is conducted within legal norms, preserving the interests of all parties. The only interest that matters now is the truth, Caroline declared with surprising firmness. And the truth is that Rachel is Victor's daughter. The test will confirm this, but we don't need it to know. Augustus, visibly disturbed by Caroline's change of position, pulled her by the arm to a corner. Have you lost your mind? Do you know what this means for the controlling interest? For the future of the company? I know exactly what it means, Augustus. Caroline freed herself from his grip with a decided movement. It means Victor will finally have justice, and that perhaps I can, at last, sleep without nightmares. The look they exchanged was loaded with hidden meanings, with shared secrets, that Travis was only beginning to glimpse. He realized there was much more to the story than his mother had revealed. Dr. Fletcher, oblivious to the underlying tension, continued. Well, if there's consensus on paternity, we can initiate the formal recognition process. We'll need documents, certificates. We have everything that's necessary, Caroline assured. And what about Rachel's rights as Victor's heir? Victor owns 25% of Montgomery Agribusiness, Dr. Fletcher explained. As a recognized legitimate daughter, the young lady would inherit that percentage entirely, plus the right to a portion of the proportional income since her father's misfortune. Rachel, who had remained silent until then, stepped forward. I'm not interested in the shares or the money. Her voice was firm. I just want to know what happened to my mother. The silence that followed was heavy. Caroline and Augustus exchanged tense looks. That's another matter, Augustus tried to deflect. We're dealing with legal aspects now, not speculations about... They're not speculations, Travis interrupted. We have reasons to believe that Teresa Morgan didn't simply disappear 15 years ago. And we want the truth, Augustus, all of it. The family lawyer visibly paled. Are you accusing me of something, Travis? Should I be? The tension was palpable when one of the estate's security guards approached hurriedly. Mr. Travis, pardon the interruption. Nurse Nancy asked me to inform you immediately. It's your Uncle Victor. Yeah, there's been a significant change in his condition. The guard's announcement caused an immediate commotion. Travis was the first to react, running toward Victor's room, closely followed by Caroline. Rachel hesitated for a moment until Mrs. Martha gently encouraged her. Go, child. Your father might need you. In the corridor leading to Victor's room, Augustus tried to block Rachel's passage. This is a family moment. You haven't been officially... Get out of the way, Augustus. Caroline's voice sounded more authoritative than ever before. My niece has every right to be here. When they entered the room, they found an impressive scene. Nurse Nancy was beside the bed, visibly emotional, while Dr. Michael Sullivan, the family's private physician who had been caring for Victor for years, examined the monitors with an expression of amazement. It's extraordinary, the doctor murmured. In 15 years, I've never seen such a significant change in brain patterns. Travis approached the bed. Victor remained immobile, but there was something different. His eyes, previously always empty, seemed focused, following the movements in the room. What's happening, Doctor? Caroline asked, her voice trembling. I have no scientific explanation, the doctor admitted, but there seems to be significantly more brain activity. The brain wave patterns have completely changed in the last few hours. Can he hear us, understand? Travis questioned. Possibly, Dr. Sullivan responded cautiously. The signals suggest a more present consciousness, although without apparent motor capacity. Rachel, who had remained at the entrance to the room, took a few hesitant steps toward the bed. When she entered Victor's field of vision, something extraordinary happened. A solitary tear ran down the immobile man's face. Father? The word escaped Rachel's lips like a prayer. The monitors registered a spike in the brain waves. Amazing! Exclaimed the doctor. He's responding. Caroline sobbed, bringing her hands to her mouth. Victor, you can hear us, can't you? After all these years. Rachel approached closer, gently touching Victor's hand. I'm Rachel, Teresa's daughter. Her voice faltered. Your daughter. Another spike in the brainwaves, more intense than the previous one. I need to call specialists, Dr. Sullivan declared, emotional. This could be the beginning of a recovery process, although I don't want to create false hopes. As the doctor left to make calls, Travis noticed that Augustus remained at the door, his face a mask of poorly disguised concern. You should be happy about Victor's possible recovery, Augustus, Travis commented with irony. After all, he's practically family to you too, isn't he? The lawyer took a step back. Of course, it's wonderful news. I'll leave you alone in this special moment. But before he could leave, Caroline's voice stopped him. Stay, Augustus. Her tone admitted no contestation. Victor would want you to be here when he learned the whole truth. Augustus paled even more. Caroline, this is not the time for... It's exactly the time. She turned to Rachel and Travis. 15 years ago, when your uncle suffered the accident, I was 2 months pregnant. The revelation fell like a bomb. In the silent room, Mother, what are you talking about? Richard and I had been separated for months, although we maintained appearances. Caroline continued, her voice firm despite the tears. Your father discovered my relationship with Augustus, and the pregnancy was the final trigger. Travis felt the world spin around him. You and Augustus? It was a mistake, a moment of weakness that turned into something more. Caroline wiped away her tears. When Richard found out, he was furious. He threatened to take everything from me, including you, Travis. And what does this have to do with Victor's accident? Rachel asked, confused. It was Augustus who answered, his voice almost inaudible. Victor discovered about us, about the pregnancy. He was the only one who supported Caroline, said she deserved to be happy, that she should confront Richard. Victor was planning to confront my father on the night of the accident? Travis asked, the pieces fitting together. Yes, Caroline confirmed, and Richard knew this. When Victor left to meet him, Richard ordered that they tamper with the car. My God, Rachel murmured. Who did this? Travis demanded to know, although he already suspected the answer. Augustus's silence was more eloquent than any confession. You? Travis took a step forward, furious. You sabotaged Victor's car. It was an accident, Augustus protested, backing away. It was supposed to be just enough to make the car stop on the road, give Richard time to reach him, talk. And Teresa, Rachel interrupted, her voice trembling. What happened to my mother? Caroline and Augustus exchanged guilty looks. She came back 2 years later, Caroline finally answered, demanding more money, threatening to tell everything. Richard had already passed away, Augustus continued. I feared she would destroy everything we had built, the family reputation, Travis's future. So you silenced her, Travis completed, feeling nauseous. Like you did with Victor. No, Augustus protested. I just convinced her to leave, to never come back. I gave her enough money to start over somewhere else, far from here. You're lying. Rachel's voice was surprisingly calm. My mother would never voluntarily abandon me. She loved me more than anything. At that moment, something extraordinary happened. A subtle movement of Victor's hand, almost imperceptible, but everyone caught it. His fingers moved as if trying to point to something or someone. Victor's eyes, previously fixed on Rachel, slowly shifted until they fixed on Augustus. The hatred and accusation in that gaze were unequivocal. Caroline sobbed. He knows. Victor always knew. Travis understood the terrible truth. He's conscious. All this time, 15 years trapped in his own body, unable to communicate, but conscious of everything. Impossible, Augustus protested, but without conviction. The doctors always said there was a small chance, Caroline confirmed, that some patients in a vegetative state maintain a certain level of consciousness. Rachel knelt beside the bed, holding Victor's hand. Father, if you can understand me, squeeze my hand. Everyone held their breath. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, Victor's fingers curled around Rachel's. My God. Dr. Sullivan, who had silently returned to the room, approached in disbelief. This is a medical miracle. Travis turned to Augustus, who now seemed about to collapse. It's over, Augustus. The truth always finds a way. The lawyer, seeing himself cornered, made one last desperate attempt. You can't prove anything, these are just assumptions, theories. Perhaps, Travis agreed, but we have enough to initiate a full investigation. About Victor's accident, about Teresa Morgan's disappearance, and about what's buried on the abandoned property on the outskirts of Charlottesville. Caroline completed, her voice almost inaudible. A sepulchral silence fell over the room. What did you say, Mother? The property that Augustus bought in the company's name, right after Teresa's visit. Caroline looked at Augustus with a mixture of horror and resignation. The place where he assured me no one would ever look. Augustus staggered, leaning against the wall. You promised never to mention. I promised a man I loved who I believed was protecting us, Caroline answered with bitterness. But you didn't protect us, Augustus. You turned us into accomplices of something monstrous. Sheriff Johnson, who had apparently returned to the estate and heard part of the conversation from the door, entered the room with a grave expression. I think we need to have a serious conversation, Mr. Mills. The following weeks were a whirlwind of events at Sunfield Manor. The investigation into Teresa Morgan's disappearance was reopened, with police finding evidence on the Charlottesville property that confirmed everyone's worst fears. Augustus Mills was arrested, eventually confessing his involvement in both Victor's accident and Teresa's tragic fate. Caroline, devastated by the revelation that the man she had loved was capable of such atrocities, cooperated fully with the authorities. As an accomplice by omission, she received a suspended sentence plus the obligation to perform community service for years. Victor's recovery surprised the medical community. Although he never fully regained his motor capacity, he gradually gained the ability to communicate through eye movements and eventually, with the help of assistive technology. His first complete words, transmitted through a special computer, were for Rachel. Proud of you, daughter. Rachel was officially recognized as Victor Montgomery's legitimate heir. Against all expectations, she decided to remain at Sunfield Manor, not in the luxurious rooms of the main house, but in the small house of Sebastian, the old gardener who retired soon after the revelations. The gardens will be my responsibility now, she explained to Travis. It's where I feel connected to this land, to this family, without losing who I am. Travis respected her decision. In the months that followed, while reorganizing the family business and dealing with the scandal that inevitably leaked to the press, he found in Rachel an unexpected partner. Her practical perspective and her detachment from materialism brought a new philosophy to the management of Sunfield Manor. The emerald necklace, which had been the catalyst for the entire story, found its final place in a special display case in the mansion's library, accompanied by a plaque that told its story, not as a stolen jewel, but as a symbol of a love that survived the worst adversities. On an autumn afternoon, almost a year after the events that forever changed the lives of the Montgomerys, Travis found Rachel in the music room, playing a soft melody on the piano that had once belonged to Victor. He's having a good day today, Travis commented, referring to Victor, who now spent his afternoons on the porch observing the gardens. The doctors say music helps with brain recovery. I don't play just for recovery. Rachel smiled, her green eyes shining with the same intensity as Travis's. It's our connection, something we share beyond blood and history. Travis sat beside her on the piano bench. You know, when I first saw that necklace on your neck, I never imagined where this story would lead us. To the truth, Rachel responded simply. As painful as it may be, the truth always frees us in the end. You're a legitimate Montgomery, you know, Travis smiled. Only a Montgomery could transform a tragedy into a new chance for all of us. Rachel played the last notes of the melody before responding. I'm a Morgan Montgomery. I carry both stories, both legacies, and I intend to honor both in my own way. As the sun set over Sunfield Manor, the piano chords floated through the gardens, reaching Victor on his chair on the porch. A slight smile formed on his lips, not a smile of victory or vengeance, but of peace. After 15 years of forced silence, the truth had finally been freed, as had he. And somewhere among the rose bushes meticulously tended by Rachel, the spirit of Teresa Morgan finally found rest, knowing that her daughter had at last discovered her roots and her place in the world. Dear listeners, we hope that the journey of Travis and Rachel through the secrets of Sunfield Manor has touched your hearts. The power of truth and family bonds, even when discovered in the most unlikely circumstances, can heal wounds that time could not close. To continue this emotional journey through equally captivating stories, we've prepared a special playlist that you can find by clicking on the link to the left. If this narrative has awakened emotions in you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and leave your like on the video. Daily, we bring new stories that explore the complexity of human relationships and the search for identity and belonging. Share your thoughts in the comments. Which moment of this story touched your heart the most? We're eager to read your impressions.